What is it to be graceful, to obtain graciousness throughout your life? A subtle theme of a quote unquote metaphysical energy, end quote, that is a challenge, that's something more or less emotional, that's being tempered through us. What does it really mean to have grace without the verbalization? To have grace, quote unquote grace, end quote, it's really to have some type of tolerance and understanding within all the different circumstances we find ourselves in, with all these different types of diversified people. And without that grace, there'll be a absence of a particular context of an alignment with just a human to human basis. And if we have absent of a certain alignment just on a human to human encounter, then that's a casual quote unquote micro war, end quote. Because war is just at opposition, energetically speaking. And then it's like, conflict perhaps in ignorance and non-wholeness, or conflict in some type of clarity, a deep purpose. And, maybe God is, more or less supporting you, right? Because one of the original wars is clarity versus confusion, and there's no judgment how we fall into one of those hands, more or less. But if you're affiliating with different types of confusion, that's going to build within your subtle bodies, and that's going to make the essence of your genetic makeup and soul makeup. And the genetic makeup is just a reflection of what you are on the soul level. So what does it really mean to have grace? It's to have tolerance, understanding, and even quote unquote patience, end quote. And if we don't have grace in our lives, then we could be susceptible to be at odds with just different contexts of disalignment. And the different contexts of disalignment, they're not necessarily conducive for the positive progression or the constructive progression of just your general life. Because your genetic life, it's just a reflection on what we kind of forget we are in the dream world, and then it eventually reflects and downpours onto here. Thank you. You have the best life ever. And this is just my normal. I'm accepting, just there's a practice in me that's trying to quote unquote accept it all, end quote. And that's a pretty hefty one, because it's like, it's like it kind of goes back to like something of a vibe of like, can you really quote unquote forgive the unforgivable, end quote. And there's even something of like a quote unquote chicken soup for the soul, end quote, type of vibe, because I kind of like grew up with like reading those books, or like kind of sifting through those books, if you will. So obviously, like, I honor like just the general influences of the upbringings, but like to accept it all, that's it's like you could pivot with or not with your influence, because in the movement of your life, it's simultaneously relevant and irrelevant on a balanced level. And what that means is like, it's relevant because it's supporting you energetically, but it's quote unquote irrelevant, end quote, because you're in the movement of your life. So it's like everything that we're saying that, oh, that's irrelevant, it's like that's ultimately a testament or a reflection of our own intelligence. Because if you can't see, if you don't deem energetic support for your relevancy, that's just a lack of particular intelligence. So but what does it really mean to have grace? It means battery running low, I need to chill. It means to just have to have like some type of tolerance and understanding within like the circumstances and the people you're finding yourself in. And aside from me just saying that, that's like life. It's kind of itself in the future. You have to deal with different types of people, and it's up to the quote unquote leader end quote of energy to help them understand. Thank you. And yeah.